We're very pleased to have with us some noted speakers. We're going to have a very short rally here now before we march around the town. I'm going to start off by introducing a regional officer from Unite, and Unite have been incredibly supportive and helpful in making sure this event has been a success. So I'd like you to warmly welcome Neil Beveridge. Thank you.
Good morning. Buongiorno. This festival has been organised to celebrate the life and legacy of a local hero. Twm Sbaen Jones was raised in Wrexham and worked for 14 years as a miner in the Hafod, Vauxhall and Bersham collieries. Tom is remembered for both his service to North Wales and Welsh trade unionism, and Unite the Union is proud to support and fund this festival to keep alive the memory of our local hero here in Wrexham, Twm Sbaen.
Next up is Dave McKnight. Dave has been one of the key organisers in this. Dave is speaking in a personal capacity but works for Unison. Diolch yn fawr iawn, Dave Knight.
The legacy of Franco still survives in Spain, as I'm sure you'll hear from our speakers later on. A fascist is now the president of Brazil, the largest country in Latin America, and the far right are on the march across Europe. Here too, in our communities, our workplaces and on our streets, the threat from the far right is real. A fascist murdered Labour MP Joe Cox. A fascist attacked a Sikh dentist with a machete in Mould. Fascists plotted to murder MP Rosie Cooper. Today is not just about remembering Twm Sbaen and the courageous men and women who fought in the international brigades. It's about learning from them, being inspired by them, and continuing their struggles. For some people, the campaign to support the Spanish Republic is the most widespread and representative mass movement of ordinary people since the mid-19th century days of Chartism, and most outstanding example of international solidarity in British history. Those like Tom, who went to Spain from Wales, across the British Isles and from around the world, knew the priceless value of international working class solidarity. They fought against fascism and on the side of democracy. They fought for health and education, for rights for women, for the right to form trade unions, against racism, and for respect for and solidarity with the peoples of other nations. And many of those that were lucky enough to return back home continued this fight like Tom in the trade union movement, in politics and in their local communities. They're an inspiration to us all. These were ordinary working men and women who did extraordinary things. Today we see enormous inequalities. Capitalism is in crisis. Work is increasingly precarious. Real wages have been slashed, whilst the rich have seen their wealth rocket. Homelessness is on the rise. Thousands of people rely on food banks. Universal credit is plunging people into destitution, and our public services are being destroyed. These are precisely the conditions where fascism can thrive, and we must be at the forefront of the fight against it. We have to organise, we have to fight. When Twm Sbaen went off to fight fascism and defend democracy, he told his family he was going to Colwyn Bay for the weekend. If there's one thing we can all commit to today, it's to make our way to Colwyn Bay and continue Tom's struggle. No passaran. No passaran.
No passaran. When people talk about Islamophobia, or whether they talk about anti-Semitism, or whether they talk about any other form of inequality, it is always, always wrong. And we need that message to get out there, loud and clear. Because, make no mistake about it, Twm Sbaen fought against the equivalents of Tommy Robinson out there in Parliament Square. His generation had them too. And it is always our job, I think, always in that spirit of solidarity, to fight against those things and to make clear that we stand for a better world, a better society, and a true belief in equality. Reference has already been made earlier of my former parliamentary colleague Joe Cox, not somebody I knew very well personally, but I think the words that have often been referred to about her is more in common. And I think as we go into today's festival, and as we think and consider our own contribution in all this, I think more in common is a very, very good way of describing it. And I want to close briefly, as we think, of course, with what only probably somebody from Rose could conclude with, and that is some words from the Rose Herald, which was the old newspaper of Rose. And it was a letter by Twm Sbaen, when people were saying to him, well, why are you out there in Spain? What's all this about? You know, why are you busy fighting the fascists in Spain? And this is how he responded. Fascism can only lead the world to the valley of death and destruction and to barbarism. I'm proud to say that Wales is well represented in the British units here by its sturdy and freedom-loving coal miners. The Welsh national anthem has been sung more than once in the trenches on the Madrid and Aragon fronts, and by now, many brave Welsh miners have been killed. They died to preserve democracy, not only for Spain, but also in Wales. History will prove that these Welsh miners did not die in vain. And felly, dwi eisiau dweud diolch. I'd like to say thank you to all the organisers of this festival, to unite the union, to everyone here today, because this issue is perhaps one of the most pivotal issues of our time in our communities as we take on that fight against the far right. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you very
much. To stand up to them, as people did in Wrexham only 6 months ago when the fascists came here. And we have to keep on being vigilant and keep on being willing to stand up to them, because they will offer simplistic answers to very complex questions. And at a time when people are very concerned about the political and social and economic direction we're heading in, we have to be ready with proper answers to those problems and not the simplistic demonising of others.
Hwnna hwnna.